the big thought was Yunus Musah starts at right back. And I really wanted to know what you guys were thinking. Yunus Musah got 82 minutes. He had 64 touches, 39 passes, and a pass percentage of 91%. Getting into the weeds here with the stats. But Jesse, I'm coming to you first. Your thoughts on all four of these players, and I want to hear your thoughts on Yunus Musah at right back.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here and a lot to talk about. Let's start with Yunus. Okay. When I saw that he was going to be playing right back, I thought that maybe Pioli was going to use him a little bit like he does Calabria at times, which is start defensively, play right back, but then rotate him into the middle like one of the double midfielders, center midfielders in the sixth position. But he didn't really do that. He used him as a straight up right back. I thought in general, I thought it was okay. He got beat once bad on the wing, and then they served a cross in, and I think it was Milik that almost got a header on it and almost scored a goal. He didn't look totally comfortable there. I mean, I think what you always get with Musa is you always get an honest effort. He'll run. He'll try to tactically honor his responsibility. He'll play for the team. He'll try to do everything he can to help out on the day because he's just that kind of kid. He's a competitor, but he's also a team player. And in the end, I mean, it was, I thought, a worthwhile effort, but I'm not sure that it really worked. And I think when I look at him comparatively and see him in the middle in an 8 or a 6, he looks much more comfortable, and I think he can play to his strengths a lot more.
Do you
Now,
think? Wait, Jesse, really quick though. Do you feel like they were trying to do something that we're seeing being fashioned by Man City and Liverpool to use some big names, where they bring the right back into a more central position?
well,
And he can
that's what
create
I
that overload.
thought they would do.
Yeah, right.
That's what I thought they would do, but they didn't. Right? He just played pretty much like a standard right back. So I mean, and like, remember, Greg Berhalter tried this with Tyler Adams early on when Greg got the job. He started Tyler Adams out at the right back position, and then he was going to rotate him inside. And you could tell Tyler gave it his best effort, but it just wasn't natural. And sometimes these things take time. But obviously, with the Sergiño Dest issue, they do have to solve some right back problems. And I we'll talk later about Scally. I mean, why don't we go to Charlie? And Charlie, you can talk a little bit about what you thought of Timo Weah at right wing back.
Yes, and to answer some of the questions in the chat, yes, this is live. So, Gordo, is this actually live now or pre-recorded? It's live. We're back to being live, baby.
We're back. We're back.
I'm excited. This is awesome to see the chats, to respond to the people who have some questions. But ideally, I'm with you, Jesse, that I thought Yunus Musah would play. Yes, he was listed as the right back, but I thought, okay, this is that new philosophy as a right back that Pep Guardiola kind of has tried to revolutionize, right? Have that right back come into the midfield and be more advanced, because Calabria comes in, but he plays almost like a center back because Teo Hernandez is bombing down the field, and then they need somebody for stability and structure to basically not let it fall apart when in transition. So I was a little surprised that he was staying right and playing as a true right back. And he's a smart enough player. He's so good technically that he can still make that work. It's almost like, okay, he has almost more time. He can see the whole pitch from that position. You don't expect him to lose the ball because he doesn't lose the ball in the midfield anyway. So you give a player like that with that much quality time as a right back, it's a little bit more reserved and he's conservative. But yeah, he can do that job, but that's not his job long term. You don't want to see Yunus Musah playing right back just because he can do what you need him to do there. But ultimately, long term, his position is in the middle of the pitch.
Well, Chuck, I want to keep it here with Musah before we move into a different player. And this is what it looks like, and Jesse described this a little bit. Yunus Musah looks very coachable. And where I think where it's interesting for me at him at right back is sometimes if you have a team that knows how to create that type of space, they're going to have a lot of the ball and they're going to be able to create and pull the strings from that position because for whatever reason, that's where teams like to give up that space. So if he can step into that area, because he's very good at gliding past that first defender, it's the decision-making once he gets into that next part of the space where I'm, okay, now what? But if he is as coachable as we all think that he is, then it should be relatively easy in theory to get him to make that final pass, because that's really what's unlocking or blocking him at the 8 spot too, is like he gets into good spots, but then doesn't know
But
what the right decision is, you know,
but
in that particular moment.
his game is not getting up and down the flank. That's not his game. Even when he played at
No, but
Valencia,
he can
could
run though.
he could
He
do
can
the
run.
job, but
Yeah.
he can, but that's not his strength. He's not someone who enjoys going up and down the flank and just whipping balls in, you know, as a typical right winger or in a 3-5-2 right back,
Okay.
whatever that is. He's more comfortable taking touches and coming inside, which he did at Valencia when he was playing in that position. And now if you're flipping roles with Timothy Weah, that's somebody who enjoys that. He likes that work.
Okay.
Who gets up
Counterpoint.
and down.
Counterpoint. What if though, if Weah is the one that's going to get excluded from our midfield, but Tyler is back now, obviously Tyler's still hurt, so who knows? But if it ends up being that
Weah?
Tyler McKinney and Gio Reyna in the middle of midfield for us,
You're
whether we're
saying
playing,
Musa.
You mean
Weah.
Musa,
if
yeah.
Musa's the one that gets squeezed out, he gets excluded from
Yeah.
midfield.
Mhm.
I would be like, I'll play right back. I know Dest is out, coach, you know, and I would take Musa over Scally, to be honest with you. I'll put my
I
flag
would
on the ground right
I
now.
probably would too. I mean, again, one of the things you can do is rotate Musa into the midfield, right? But then you're asking Robinson on the left to almost be more of a center back. Of course, unless you drop Tyler Adams or Gio Reyna, which I would not recommend, but we've seen that already. But you know, I mean, there are ways that I think you could make sense of it, and it might be necessary. So, listen, there's different things. I've coached players over the years that I've changed their position. Now, it's not something I like to do because typically formations of players, you know, they play in a certain position their entire life, and they then develop the kinds of habits and understanding and comfortability of what that position needs. But sometimes you can see something in a player and say, you know what, they might look a little bit better in this spot, and they might be able to help the balance of the team with what we need. So an example for me is I had Sam Greenwood in Leeds, and he was typically a striker, right? But the way that I saw him, he was more, even when he played striker, he'd like to come underneath. He was more of a connector. His strength wasn't playing with his back to goal. It was more now being a deliverer of passes once he could turn and face his own goal and start to like make passes that made a difference. So I thought, okay, well, what about him as an 8? And then what about him as a 6? And then it worked. It actually worked for him. And he was good at running and closing space down and counter pressing. And so it wound up being a good situation for him. Now I think they loaned him out to Sunderland. I think he plays like a 10 now. Man, was it Sunderland? I can't remember. Anyway, you know, but again, I think Musa's qualities don't necessarily tend toward him. Is that's what you're trying to say, Charlie? Tend toward him being a right back, right? He's more of a guy that can close down space. He can definitely be an 8 where he's box to box, but he's definitely good against the ball when he has to close down in tight spaces, 5 to 10 yards, close space down that way. He's a good passer from deep, and then he's good when we need a solution to get out of a tight space. He can dribble and find a way to create opportunities and advantages on his own. The one thing I think he lacks a little bit is just positional discipline, right? Like the concept of how to fit within the team, stay in certain spots, do what he needs to do, and kind of be a connector from A to B. See, I feel like when he gets caught in some of these situations where he's drifting around too much, taking too many touches, he can sometimes get himself into trouble. And in general, this is why I say I just don't think he looked that comfortable there. But he's a quality player, right? With so many physical and intellectual abilities with how to play the game. And I think that's probably why they thought, well, let's try him at right back and see how it looks. But I think really now making him a cornerstone of the future, I think is going to be really important for the U.S. national team.
I just want to finish up by saying with the Musa topic that I appreciate Stefano Pioli, the manager of AC Milan, for giving this an opportunity to see what he would look like in that, especially because with Dest hurt, that is a big need for us.